It was a busy afternoon in a crowded local market somewhere in Nigeria. Traders were shouting the prices of their goods, customers were moving from one corner to another, and the loud sound of grinding machines filled the atmosphere. In the middle of all the noise and activity, nobody noticed that a wealthy philanthropist known as Mr. Bike was about to carry out a life-changing social experiment. The rich man had disguised himself as a hungry madman. His expensive clothes had been replaced with dirty torn garments. His face looked rough and tired, and his slippers were old and worn out. In his hand was an old rubber takeaway plate that looked ordinary to everyone around him. But hidden carefully inside the plate was a cash reward of 100,000 naira, waiting for the first person who would show him genuine kindness. Mr. Bike wanted to test humanity. He wanted to know if people still had compassion for strangers, especially those who looked poor, helpless, or mentally unstable. Without security guards, expensive cars, or bodyguards around him, he entered the market quietly like an ordinary beggar. As he walked slowly through the dusty road, many people avoided him because they believed he was truly mad. Some covered their noses while others moved away from him in fear and disgust. But the philanthropist remained focused on his mission. The first person he approached was a young boy standing beside his father's grinding machine shop. Mr. Bike stretched out his trembling hand and spoke with a weak voice. "My son, please help me with little money to buy food. I have not eaten since yesterday." The boy looked surprised and checked his pockets nervously. After a few seconds, he replied softly, "I don't have money with me, sir." Even though the boy could not help financially, he spoke respectfully without insulting the man. The philanthropist nodded slowly and appreciated the little kindness in the boy's tone before walking away. Sometimes in life, people may not have money to give, but respect and compassion cost nothing. A gentle response can comfort a wounded heart more than people realize. Still determined, the disguised philanthropist moved closer to the boy's father who was busy cleaning his grinding machine. The loud sound of engines and grinding peppers surrounded the area as the man worked seriously. "Sir, please," Mr. Bike begged, stretching out his old rubber plate. "Help me with small money for food." The man immediately became angry. Without listening carefully, he frowned deeply and pushed the supposed madman away from his shop. "Get away from here," he shouted harshly. "Don't come near my machine." The philanthropist almost lost balance from the push, but he remained calm and quietly stepped away. Some people nearby laughed at him while others simply ignored what happened. The pain in his eyes was obvious, but he continued walking. Life has a way of testing the true character of people. Sometimes the greatest opportunity to bless someone comes disguised in an uncomfortable situation. As he continued deeper into the market, Mr. Bike noticed a woman selling fresh tomatoes neatly arranged inside large baskets. Hoping for mercy, he approached her politely. "Mama, please, help me with anything to eat. I'm very hungry." The woman looked at him briefly with irritation on her face. Instead of responding kindly, she waved him away angrily. "Go away from my shop," she shouted. Disappointed once again, the disguised philanthropist quietly turned and continued his journey through the crowded market. The atmosphere around him was growing heavier. Everywhere he turned, people saw only a dirty madman instead of a fellow human being in need. Not too far from there, he approached another woman selling tomatoes and pepper. This time his voice sounded weaker, almost as if he was losing hope. "Mama, please help me. Even small change can help me buy food." But the woman became angry immediately. "I said leave here," she yelled while chasing him away from her stand. People nearby stared at the scene while some mocked him openly. Yet the philanthropist refused to react with anger. Deep inside, he was searching for one good heart among many hardened attitudes. Many people are quick to judge others based on appearance, forgetting that every human being carries hidden struggles and unseen stories. Heartbroken but still determined, Mr. Bike continued moving slowly through the market. A few moments later, he saw another man standing by the roadside as if he was waiting for someone. The disguised man approached carefully. "Sir, please, I'm hungry. Help me with little money for food." The man looked at him briefly, ignored him completely, and turned his face away without saying a single word. That silent rejection hurt even more. For a moment, the philanthropist felt deeply disappointed. He had met different kinds of people already, yet nobody had shown genuine compassion. Still, he refused to end the experiment because he believed there must still be good people somewhere around. As he walked further, he approached another woman who was grinding tomatoes and pepper for customers. The woman was busy working as smoke and pepper smell filled the air. "Mama, please," he begged again, "help me with something to eat." Without even looking at him properly, the woman dismissed him immediately and continued her work. The philanthropist sighed deeply and slowly walked away again. But the most painful moment of the day was still ahead of him. A few minutes later, he reached another lady selling tomatoes and pepper nearby. Looking exhausted and frustrated, he pleaded with her desperately. "Please help me. I'm dying of hunger." The woman ignored him completely. Out of desperation, the disguised man slowly tried to pick one tomato from her tray. Immediately, the lady exploded with anger. "How dare you touch my tomatoes?" she screamed loudly. Before anyone could react, she grabbed dirty water and poured it directly on the supposed madman. The crowd gasped in shock as she continued shouting and chasing him away mercilessly. The philanthropist stood there soaked with dirty water, humiliated before everyone. Some people laughed while others watched silently without helping him. For a brief moment, sadness filled his eyes. But instead of reacting angrily, he simply adjusted himself and continued walking slowly. Unknown to everyone in that market, Destiny was already preparing one humble woman whose kindness would soon change her life forever. After suffering rejection, insults, and humiliation from different people in the market, the disguised philanthropist continued walking slowly with pain written all over his face. His dirty clothes were now wet from the dirty water that had been poured on him, and the harsh words people spoke to him echoed in his mind. Yet despite everything, Mr. Bike refused to give up on his mission. Deep inside his heart, he still believed that somewhere in that crowded market, one compassionate person still existed. The market remained busy as traders continued calling customers to buy their goods. Grinding machines roared loudly, motorcycles passed endlessly, and people hurried from one shop to another without paying attention to the suffering man walking among them. To everyone around, he looked like an ordinary homeless madman searching for food. Nobody knew he was actually a wealthy philanthropist carrying 100,000 naira hidden carefully inside an old rubber takeaway plate. As he walked slowly along the roadside, tired and emotionally broken, he suddenly noticed a humble woman sitting quietly on a pavement by the roadside. In front of her was a tray filled with African salad neatly arranged for sale. She looked simple, hardworking, and focused on arranging her market properly before customers would begin coming. Unlike the other traders who looked at him with anger and disgust, this woman glanced at him calmly. Mr. Bike slowly approached her and stretched out his hand weakly. "Mama, please," he begged softly, "help me with little money to buy food. I'm very hungry." The woman looked at him carefully with sympathy in her eyes. She sighed gently and explained that she had just arrived at the market and had not sold anything yet. "My brother, I don't have money now," she said honestly. "I never sell anything since morning." Hearing those words, the philanthropist became disappointed once again. After all the humiliation he had already faced, he believed this was probably another rejection. Slowly, he nodded his head and turned around to leave. But as he walked away sadly, something unexpected happened. The woman suddenly called him back. "Come back," she shouted softly. The disguised man stopped immediately and slowly turned around, surprised by her voice. The woman opened her tray of African salad and brought out a portion for him. "Take this and eat," she said kindly. For a moment, the philanthropist could hardly believe what he was hearing. After hours of rejection and humiliation, somebody had finally shown him genuine kindness. The woman did not know who he was. She did not know there was hidden money inside the old rubber plate he carried. She simply saw a hungry human being and decided to help him the little way she could. That single act of compassion touched the philanthropist deeply. Sometimes the people who have the least are the ones with the biggest hearts. True kindness does not depend on wealth but on the ability to feel another person's pain. Mr. Bike collected the African salad gratefully and thanked the woman sincerely. But before leaving, he decided to test her kindness one more time. "Mama, please," he said softly. "Can you add small extra groundnut for me?" Without hesitation or annoyance, The woman smiled gently and added extra peanuts into the food for him. That moment confirmed everything the philanthropist was searching for. Inside his heart, joy replaced the pain and disappointment he had carried throughout the day. Finally, he had found someone who still understood humanity. The disguised man slowly walked away from the woman while pretending to eat the African salad. But inwardly, he was already planning the surprise that would change the woman's life forever. A few minutes later, he returned to the woman's spot again. The woman looked confused immediately. Perhaps she thought he wanted more food, or maybe she wondered why the supposed madman had returned again after receiving help already. But what happened next completely shocked her. The philanthropist stood properly and spoke calmly. "Mama, I'm not actually mad," he revealed. The woman's eyes widened in confusion. "I only disguise myself like this to test humanity and see if people still help those in need." The woman became speechless instantly. Before she could even process his words properly, the man pointed toward a cameraman standing nearby, revealing that the entire social experiment had been secretly recorded. The crowd around them slowly began gathering in curiosity as people realized something unusual was happening. The same people who had insulted, ignored, and rejected him earlier now stared at him in disbelief. Then the philanthropist gently brought down the remaining African salad from the woman's head and carried it happily in his hands. To everyone's surprise, he began sharing the African salad freely among children, men, women, and elderly people around the market. Smiles suddenly filled the atmosphere as people rushed closer in excitement. Children laughed happily while adults watched in total amazement. The market that once showed rejection and cruelty suddenly transformed into joy and celebration. As he shared the food, many people began whispering among themselves in shock. Is this man truly not mad? Could he really be rich? Why did he disguise himself like this? Some of the traders who had earlier pushed him away lowered their heads in shame as they realized they had failed the humanity test completely. After sharing the African salad to many people nearby, the philanthropist finally returned to the woman who had shown him kindness. The woman still stood there confused, overwhelmed, and unable to fully understand what was happening around her. Then came the biggest surprise of the day. The philanthropist collected the old rubber takeaway plate from the woman's hand. Slowly and carefully, he opened it in front of the growing crowd. Bundles of cash appeared inside the plate immediately. The crowd gasped loudly. Some people placed their hands on their heads in total shock while others moved closer to confirm if what they were seeing was real. Then Mr. Bike brought out the 100,000 naira hidden inside and handed everything over to the woman. The woman froze completely. Her hands trembled as she collected the money. Tears immediately filled her eyes as reality finally sank in. Overcome with emotion, she suddenly dropped to her knees in appreciation. Crying heavily, she hugged the philanthropist tightly and thanked him repeatedly for the unexpected blessing. The crowd erupted into celebration. People clapped loudly while others shouted in excitement. Some could not believe that the same man they thought was a useless madman was actually a wealthy philanthropist rewarding kindness. At that moment, regret filled the hearts of many people who had earlier insulted and rejected him. But one humble woman who chose compassion over cruelty became the hero of the day. And through that powerful social experiment, one unforgettable lesson echoed throughout the entire market. Never judge people by their appearance, because sometimes the people you ignore today may carry the blessings you have been praying for all your life.